It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. And we are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth in terms of understanding what it means to be out of balance, how to be thrown out of balance, out of kilter, out of whack, out of your element, out of your organic homeostasis when you are involved or in a relationship with someone who has a personality disorder, someone who is covert narcissistic, someone who has a sort of domineering, subtle, quiet rage about them, and they tend to be very to themselves, retreating, reserved, and by this virtue seem to command a superior sort of self-importance and denigrate others in this very covert, unconscious awareness or out of awareness of the usual observer, or someone who is overt narcissistic, someone who is overly grandiose, talking up a big game. They've got a big hat but no cattle. These ones have no shame, and oftentimes they should have a healthy amount of shame because of the amount of harm or neglect or ignoring or sort of the sarcastic, sardonic comments that they tend to make to other people. And, everyone else is the butt of their joke. So everyone else is paying the expense, paving the path, riding on the coattails of these, they're riding on the coattails of others. Or really these psychopathic, those individuals who are lacking in conscience. They have a thin or thick veil in terms of the presentation that they appear to be normal, fitting in with the rest of us, yet there's no real moral compass. They don't really move through their day or their life with a sense of right or wrong, and they need to conceal this, and they do this oftentimes through very, very complex and strong deception, conning and scamming others. So we're going to talk today about how this can then throw people out of balance and getting people's lives on a litmus test of life where they don't really know what a sense of internal balance is. So this becomes a very important skill to learn as you're moving through the healing process. But before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Arizona in the house today. Thank you so much for your donations and contributions and letting us know that we're really hitting some home runs here for you. Thank you so much for your donations, and it's great to hear from you. And I believe we have Michigan in the house. Thank you so much for your recent donation and contribution. And it's an honor and a privilege to really work through these multifaceted concepts to really get you on a solid ground and really making sense of things so you begin to feel a sense of normalcy, peace, harmony, progress, happiness, and also balance in your life. How to really, regain, restore, have this, even if it's a new experience, because oftentimes when you're in a relationship with someone who is emotionally manipulative, psychologically sabotaging you, trying to do you in through either covert or overt measures. Meaning, if you do not adhere or comply to their demands, their moodiness, their self-centered superiority with which they must maintain their relationships, you get either confronted, you get isolated, you get smear campaigned, you get called out. And just like in the book by Dr. Martha Stout, basically they have an ability to make others bend against their will. So to go against your free will, what is in your best interest? What is your natural GPS system? So that gets that software, if you will, within you, your natural emotional homeostasis, which says, this is what's good for me, this is what I'm interested in, this is how my clock works, this is how I like to sleep, this is what I like to focus on, this is my inherent inclination, that gets truncated or cut off, or the wires oftentimes even get severed, if you will, to follow an analogy when you're around these people, because to throw others off balance, off kilter, to have them engaged in self-doubt, self-sabotage, self-remorse, self-regret, the other self-hatred that can oftentimes result as an aftershock or ripple effect, a result from the cause of being in a relationship with these people, because what better way than to make you unstable than to get you out of control? In other words, if you can starve someone for attention, then they are going to be at your beck and call. So if someone can starve you for affection, i.e. not give you what you need, not give you the love, not show you the guidance, not show you the validation, not acknowledge you, not validate you, not give you a smile, i.e. it is all about them and it has nothing to do with you. But it's completely natural and organic to seek these things. In other words, it is not too much to ask others to be cooperative, compassionate, empathetic. It's not that they have to be taking care of you, because that would be to a state of dependence, but at least to be, congenial, to have a sense of empathy, validation, i.e. acknowledging of your feelings. And this is very elusive, sort of esoteric, intangible stuff that we're talking about. And absolutely positively, it's very difficult to flesh this out, and it will take repetition and experience as we discuss these topics and you're able to identify them. And once again, it is very difficult to present in the healthcare system and say, I'm having trouble with this, and it's very difficult to understand the sophistication, the complexity, and the multi-level effects that are going on, and how to really sort these out and really work on them one by one and then plug yourself in. So it is to understand that this has been a cause that has created this effect in your life. So this had to be a learned adaptation to accommodate the narcissistic rage, the psychopathic moodiness, where you kind of feel that you're beginning to see through the cracks of the veil of their mask. In other words, you begin, once you're with these people, you understand that something doesn't quite match up. Their behaviors don't match their words. In other words, the false promises, the stories that they tell you, the story of their life. Woe is me here, woe is me there, this, that, and the other thing. And then they have everybody, hanging on their shoestrings, tying their shoes, dusting them off, whatever it is that you are now drawn in to accommodating or assisting them, because that's really what they want the people around them to be under the guise of their control. But it's going to be, beyond your conscious awareness. And oftentimes it's a very feel-good relationship. So why would you not want to give and pay undue attention to this person? So there's, of course, a lot of common sense things, but yet you're not dealing with average Joe, six-pack, average Sally Silk, whatever, when you're dealing with these people, Silky Sally, Fast Sally, whatever that song was about, you're dealing with someone who has very adept manipulation and deception with which they engage in on a daily basis that would, really blow people's mind to say, oh my God, I can't believe that they can stomach the way that they treat people or the extent to which they lie. So they'll really get you off course and off kilter. And this imbalance can be almost looked at in terms of like a percentage. And you become then addicted to pacifying their needs and then deprivation of yourself. So it becomes an addiction to disappointing yourself and then trying to correct that disappointment by trying to fix it on the outside. So it's, you really, the misunderstanding, the flawed thinking becomes thinking it's an outside job, which means you begin to feel like you have to fix this person, pacify them, rectify your validation to them. So you have to work on them versus looking to yourself. And that becomes a very difficult switch to make, especially when you have, maybe received their validation in small amounts on intermittent reinforcement, very much like a slot machine at a casino. The people get the big win, and then they keep putting in a quarter, and then they get a big loss, and then they're trying to make up for their loss, and then so this is very intermittent reinforcement. So you don't really know what you're going to get. So you continue to kind of make up for lost ground in the relationship, and this can throw you out of balance. So it's a lot of tug of war, a lot of push and pull. It's not about you going out and enjoying your day. It's about having them taking up space, rent in your brain, worried about them, thinking about them. Is the shoe going to fall? A feather going to fall? An anvil going to fall? What's going to happen now? So there's always this external issue, and then there's always a problem to your solution. So you are trying to constantly, create a solution, and they're still becoming the problem. So they're going to come at you with either more difficult, confusing statements, things that don't add up, trying to regain your sense of composure around them. And really, it's because it creates an emptiness and a void, which is an abyss. So there is really no end to it when you're dealing with these people. And to continue to try to give to them is to really commit to a lot of sort of disappointment, depression, feeling defeated, feeling like something is wrong with me. A lot of viewers say, I thought I was the crazy one. They led me to believe this. Well, look at that statement. They led me to believe this. So let's take a look at that. And now it's to realize that to get back on balance, to get back to what is right for you, now is required to become an inside job. Inside job meaning it's about kind of shutting out those nefarious, negative influences and saying, okay, even though it hurts, even though this takes a lot of courage, even though this takes a new decision and a new feeling for me, I'm going to just kind of put that aside, set them aside, and say, perhaps this relationship is not a good influence for me. And knowing this to be the case, even though it's my mother, father, brother, sister, dog, cat, whatever it is, whoever it is, despite their title, despite, their accolades, despite the fact that they might have a lot of people around them who are too intimidated to confront. In other words, they just put up with it because they don't want to be the target. They would just rather go along with the status quo. And if someone does complain, like Dr. Martha Stop, basically you're going to get the harsh treatment, and a lot of people don't want to incur that, or they, by basis of the relationship, the child can't confront the parent. I mean, that in the societal norm that has been perhaps really engraved in your dynamic, I mean, you've been maybe shot down for so many times, you can't get back up. I mean, you are, basically, like Diana Ross says, you think I'm going to take this laying down, or whatever her statement is, like, you have to basically take it laying down with these very harsh relationships. There's no getting up and speaking to them eye to eye. They will not have it. So knowing this to be the case, it's time to understand that they are creating this role for you, and you have had to conform and comply with these demands just as they would like it. So it's they're seeking to control you, to have power over you. But that is not the rightful course of your body, as you can, and your body, mind, and spirit, your intellect, your intuition and your consciousness and your higher connection to source is not having it. That's why you perhaps feel muddled in your thought. You can't put the 1 and 2 together to make 3. You can't, you feel a sense of holding back, an unhappiness. You feel that there's issues to be worked out. So these feelings and inner dialogue are the key, that there's an out of balance that's just created by this relationship dynamic. So now to restore your balance is, once again, it's to set this person aside, and it is to acknowledge and validate your own truth, to say, perhaps this person, despite their rank, their title, their relationships, their wealth, the number of people who think that they're the greatest thing, etc. Let them have all that. Let them have those relationships, those accolades, the people who don't see what I've been through. Perhaps I've been targeted, scapegoated. These other people have not, who have not had the worst of it like I have. I am not making this up. This is the real deal. So knowing this to be the case, I am going to separate and put them aside. And now I'm going to realize that it's not an outside job for me to restore the happiness. It is an inside job. And this is going to feel a little different. It's going to feel different to work on this and then to experience some success. It's going to take a little bit of self-enforcement. It's going to take some tools, i.e. acknowledging and validating the idea of what I would feel as like, percentage balance, and looking at, and to make sure that you have an appointment book, and to keeping yourself accountable for, as well as your recovery journal and your recovery date, to keep these all moving forward so you can get some momentum and have that energy shift where you then begin to trust yourself. You begin to know thyself. Like Plato and all the ancients in Egypt that were written in all the temples, know thyself. So if you can imagine that being on a big banner, they were creating their community and culture with that in mind. So if you can then implement that for yourself, because to know yourself is to know the savior within yourself. It is to know your connection to your best self. In other words, the new you that you want to grow and manifest into, the one that's happy, that feels everything's okay, hunky-dory, feels safe, doesn't feel like everything is broken all the time, that there's a constant struggle, retribution, fighting, wasting of your time, wasting of your energy. The time to quit all that is now. It's time to hand in the pink slip to your suffering. Suffering does not reside here anymore. This is the no complaint zone. And period, end of story. You have to have a zero tolerance for that. It is not permitted. It has to be that strong in terms of a percentage in putting yourself in the inside job forward. And also the topic of enforcement, which means you must keep yourself accountable and responsible to yourself. Even if you feel that, this relationship is damaged and it's created this in your life, let's look at you. You can look at the dynamic, but knowing the cause has created the effect. Let's give some time for you. This is your time. To trust yourself is to look at areas where you have felt that this relationship has caused an error of judgment on your behalf, either through decisions, choices, emotions, behaviors, where you have gotten yourself feeling, i.e., in trouble, unhappy, underemployed, feeling lack of self-esteem, I'm not worth it. So all those pockets, if you will, in your day, in your week, in your pursuits, where are those holding you back? And it's to look at that and to say, okay, I've known that I've entered into this negative, low energy feeling because of all the statements, the looks, the behaviors, the yelling, the slamming of doors, the constant criticism or belittling. That has instilled that feeling in me. That caused it to grow within me, that negative feeling. So we want to get that out from the root. And, you are not, a tree. In other words, you can move through life. You are not stuck and, constantly indebted to these negative feelings. So there's always a feeling that you have to repay this person or, figure out where you're standing and avoid their rage or try to see through the psychological harm that they've done. So to emerge from those ruminations, the brainwashing, the gaslighting, where you're always sort of having intrusive thoughts or feeling afraid all the time or that you're not good enough. So all those statements, that inner dialogue and those feelings, we want to get rid of 100%. And so if you look at your day and getting control back, it is to allocate time to astromations, what I call astromations, which are really making affirmations that are able to plug in a feeling and are also combined with a vision and commitment and strong energy, and oftentimes need to be repeated out loud so your body can hear them. you really, I really do feel that there's an energy when you speak your astramations into effect that go out into the etheric energy around you, and it engages your physiology. So you don't just say, I am in control. I'm in control. You wouldn't, that's not going to do it for you. I am in control. I am following my destiny. I am honoring my calling. I have an innate sense of my internal mission, and it is. I am now giving credence and validity to my truth, and my truth is calling me to spend more time. And then filling these in and speaking your astramations out loud with commitment, with strength, with courage. You can do this. You must have time where either you're driving in the car, you're walking in your house, where you can reset your neurology. And this is really where you're taking the helm back, and you are making a command to your physiology to feel it, because it has to be an inside and feeling job. In other words, you can't just speak it but not feel it. You can't just, not feel it and then expect it to engage in your prefrontal cortex and then engage in the neuroplasticity, where you're now saying, aha, I know what this means now for me to be in control. For me to be in control means to say, amen, I'm going to now be in control of my happiness. It's a choice and a decision that I'm now making in these little tiny adjustments in feeling self-validation. So now I'm no longer in a junked up car. Now I'm no longer in a junked up job. Now I'm no longer putting junked up food in my mouth. I'm no longer talking junk or smack to myself. I'm carrying myself with a different presentation. I have a sense of my boundaries in what I will, allow energetically into my field. So if I'm feeling down, I'm going to say stop, delete. I'm not feeling that. No, thank you. I've already spent too much time, energy, and a percentage of my day and my life in that zone. So now I'm taking it to the next level. And for me to feel good and to have and validate my own self-esteem means for me too. And then filling that in. So oftentimes it means looking at the energy within you and to see that you're a separate, independent, distinguished individual which has the ability to lead yourself and not be dependent or enable these lower energetic, disappointing relationships which keep you there. So it's to admit that success for you is a different feeling, and that it's okay to let that one go. It's okay to let the disappointment go. It's okay to let that lower energy relationship go, that it is okay. It is not written in the tablet and stone of your life that you must forever be suffering and feeling like this is as far as you can go. It is to let yourself out. It's to let the chain out. It's to take the chain off and to be like a wild horse or, a dog, or, as an animal expression, versus being cooped up. It's to say, releasing the cooping up that you have been doing to stunt your feeling, stunt your growth, stunt your thought process from being able to arrive at the solutions and the doings that are right for you. So it is to keep, what I call emotements. So if you have, if you're constantly feeling down, depressed, in the funk, disappointed, it's to spend a half an hour and say, just for a half an hour, 15 minutes, what can I reflect on that can bring me joy, bliss, a feeling of well-being and balance? Is it to say, I'm doing too much of this, it's time for me to do more of that, and push stop? Am I spending too much time wallowing? Am I spending too much time brooding? Am I playing around here when I can, compartmentalize my time and draw more percentage of my day over here, and then to get used to the idea of enforcing it? So rather than being disappointed, I am going to fulfill myself by doing this. Actually going to a bookstore, actually going out for some coffee, actually going out to a new restaurant, a new town, pursuing an interest or a hobby, a class, engaging with some new type of people, engaging with a mentor, or finding out who you really look up to and reflecting on that, who really inspires you, and seeing then how you can track your life and open up those talents, skills, and mindsets within yourself so that you are more formatted along the positive and not this plagued by disappointment, plagued by feeling of imbalance. So balance to a lot of people would also mean not over obligating. In other words, not giving away so much of your energy or power to other people. So if you are at that stage in the game and look at where you're giving your power away. Are you trying to help others too much and not help yourself? Are you too responsible for others' well-being and not enough responsible for your well-being? For those people who are codependent, you will know precisely what I'm talking about. If you find that too much of your day is trying to do things for other people, get things for other people, and the percentage is, it's 80% them, 20% you. You need to flip the energy, you need to flip the percentage and make it more about you on a percentage. And what does that mean for you? So in other words, now that I have permission to myself to put myself first and fill up my own cup to really establish a secure, sound balance, for me that means. And for you, that might mean just having moments of peace and solitude and just getting to that neutral level. Rather than feeling the down, that will be progress for you. And then that progress will change for you over time. For me, does it mean being a little bit looser with myself than so harsh? Does it mean, taking better care of my hygiene? Does it mean dressing differently? Does it mean taking time to reflect in nature or pursue my religion or to pursue some studies and reading and enhancing my intellect? Have I been neglecting that? Where is the gestalt of what I'm missing and how can I fill that in? So that will restore the balance. And remember that if you feel a little bit guilty, bad, uncomfortable, then that's okay. That is a good sign, because to let that go, even though it hurts, it is oftentimes the right thing, because you're changing your energy, you're training yourself, you're engaging in the neuroplasticity and what it means to focus on you and how you can fuel your happiness and how it's your God-given right to do that and to not be stuck in those lower down, disappointed emotions all the time, because that is, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is your life. And if you keep putting that off through lack of awareness, then you are going to wish, like a lot of you have said, I wish I could give myself that freedom, that self-permission to do this and to realize I'm not harming anybody by being happy. It's oftentimes an understanding that by being happy, I'm disappointing someone else or I'm making them unhappy. That is a real telltale sign that a narcissist or a psychopath has had this undue influence in your life and has created this troublesome dynamic and internal self-talk and lower energy vibration in your life. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos, that they do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.